Now, my friend, it is Danny here from ProjectManaverse.com, real world technical project management for beginners. And today I'm going to give you 4 warning signs that your test plan is poor. 4 warning signs. So I'll tell you briefly what a test plan is. I'll tell you why it's important that you understand this as a project manager. And then I'll go into the 4 warning signs. So first of all, what is a test plan? Well, a test plan is basically a document that plans out your testing. It includes everything that's going to be in your testing phase. Now, you could have a master test plan that has all the test phases and a high-level summary of what's in those phases. But in this video, I'm talking specifically about the test plan for each phase. So you might have a test plan for your system testing, a test plan for your user acceptance testing, a test plan for your non-functional testing. So that's what your test plan is. And as I say, it includes the scope of what you're testing. So what are you looking to test? What environments are you going to do it in? What software should you be using for defect management and test script management, things like that? It should include any processes that people need to follow. So processes like, what is the defect management process? What's the process for executing test scripts and keeping the test scripts updated? Those kind of details are all included in the test plan, and it should also have some kind of schedule. It has the actual plan of what's being tested at what point. So that's what your test plan is. Why is a test plan document so important to a project manager? Well, testing, as you can imagine, is very, very important to technical projects because you're building something, you're coding something, and it's not a tangible physical thing. So it's not like like a car, you can go out and drive it and get a very quick sense of if it's working well or not. With an actual application or piece of software, you have to do a lot of thorough testing, get people in there using the functionality, using it in conjunction with their business as usual processes to try and see if it's going to work. And every screen needs to be checked, and every part needs to be checked, every functionality needs to be checked, lots of different scenarios. And your testing is a chance to flush out any issues before it goes to the live environment and you hand it over to your customers. So testing is really important because it's really it's your chance to get it right before it goes to the customers. Because if you don't test it thoroughly and the testing isn't good enough, then it's going to go to the customers with flaws, with defects, and that's going to have a lot of bad consequences. There could be contractual consequences. There could be reputational consequences, could be fines, there could be all sorts if the end product isn't up to scratch. So you want to make sure the testing goes as smoothly as possible, that it's done in the timeframes that have been allocated to it, and you're not going to be delayed. And the test plan is really the key document that will help you to prepare for that and get it right. There's a lot of work that goes into the management of testing. It's not just a test plan, but your test plan is that key document to try and ensure success. So that's why it's important that you understand the test plan and what it is as a project manager. Again, you usually have a test manager on your project, you should do, and they will write the test plan. It's really the test manager's responsibility to write the test plan. But again, depending on a number of factors, you might not have enough budget, or it might just be a smaller project. You might have to write the test plan yourself. Even if you don't have to write it, you should have the knowledge to be able to understand it and challenge it where appropriate, so you can make sure you're setting yourself up to succeed. So I've explained what the test plan is. I've told you why it's important you understand this as a project manager. So let's go on to the 4 warning signs that the test plan has not been created in the best way and it contains flaws, let's say. So I'm going to have a look at my little list here. So the first one is, the first warning sign is if people are questioning what the process is when you're in your test phase. So when you're in your test phase, you'll have end user testers or the actual testers themselves. And if they start to question how things should be done, what the process is, that probably means that you haven't got a concrete test plan which clearly articulates and explains it, or it means that your creation process and your documentation process wasn't good enough, in the sense that you didn't get people involved in that process to actually read it and be part of the process and part of the defining the ins and outs of it all and getting it signed off. So that's the first warning sign. Either they don't know, they're questioning the process, or they just don't know what it is, or they're just not following it correctly. They're doing their own thing. They're not following the guidelines that you set out in the test plan. So if you find that, that is a clear warning sign that you haven't created your test plan properly, or you haven't gone through the creation process properly and got it signed off to the right degree, or got people involved in the right way. That's warning sign number one. Warning sign number two is that, people are using or doing tests or completing tests that are not captured in the test plan. You find this sometimes. You'll be in a test phase, and there'll be people off testing, doing bits and pieces, and they'll update you and they'll raise defects, and you say, well, where are you raising that defect against? If there's a flaw in the system, it should be raised against an actual plan test script. If they're just finding them and there's no test script for that, or they're just doing things they want to do in the background that haven't been agreed, that means that you haven't properly defined it in the test plan. You haven't gone out to your stakeholders and captured everything they want to test, and you haven't gone through that sign-off process again. And it is quite important that that happens, because if people are off testing their own thing, sometimes it can impact other areas of testing that they haven't considered. They just don't really think about the impacts of what they're doing to other people, and it can mess up other testing. It can mess up data. It can screw up the schedule. So it's important that you get the tests agreed up front with the testers. It goes into the test plan, then everyone knows what's being tested, and nothing is going on that shouldn't be going on, and you're not going out of scope with regards to your testing. So that is warning sign number two, that people are doing tests that have not been agreed and are not part of the original test plan. What's the next warning sign? Next warning sign is, tests are just not getting done. So there could be various reasons for this, but if you find that your test plan is just not going to schedule and you're way behind and it looks like you're going to be running out of time, that means that you haven't probably spent enough time planning it properly and doing a thorough SOE or schedule of events or test plan or schedule. So you really should think about realistically how long tests are going to be taking, who's going to be doing them on what days. So you've got a nice run book, so you can track completion, and you can track that completion to your schedule, so you can see if you're ahead of schedule, if you're going to finish early, or if you're behind schedule, and if so, how many days you are behind. If you're finding that you're just not getting tests done, you're falling behind schedule, then that probably means that you haven't planned it out carefully. Sometimes it's just down to, there's so many defects and it hasn't been built correctly. There could be other reasons for it. But generally, if you're falling behind schedule, you haven't really allocated enough time. You haven't thought carefully enough about what testing is involved and how long it's going to take. You haven't thought about, is the resource actually available to do the testing? Has that been agreed? Have those end users really bought into it and realized how important it is that the tests are done at the start? Because if you had it all defined in the test plan and people are signing up to that, they're involved in the planning process, and they sign off, and they should agree to doing those tests or at least attempting to do the tests when they said they were going to do them, then you should stay roughly on track, as long as you don't have crazy defects or environmental issues just blocking testing entirely. So that's another warning sign that your test plan isn't up to scratch, that your test schedule is falling way behind schedule and the tests just aren't getting done. Now, the last warning sign that your test plan isn't up to scratch is that this is around the sign-off process. So once you've done your test plan and before you start testing, it should go out to all the key stakeholders, all the people that are involved in the testing, all the people that might manage the environments, all the people that have a stake in your project, key people, and they should sign that off before you start testing. So everyone's signed up and agreed to what you're going to do in the test phase, and that's documented in the test plan. Now, if you find that you release the document for sign off and people just aren't signing off and it's going behind schedule, and you ask for it to be signed off by Friday and Friday comes around, no one signed it off, again, that could be a warning sign that people just haven't had time to read it and they're not signing it off. But they shouldn't need time to read it, because if you've done it properly, you've involved the right people from the start. They should already be aware of what's in it through the process. It shouldn't be a big surprise. They shouldn't be seeing it cold when you go out and release a test plan and get it signed off. At the very least, you should be doing a walkthrough of the document in the sign-off process. So you book in and out with all your stakeholders, you talk through it, give them a chance to ask questions, and you can come back to those questions. Even better, they should be very involved in the process, because if your test manager is creating the test plan, they can't just decide what they want to do. They have to go out to the relevant teams in the business and agree it with them, get in the right tests, get in the right time frames, get in the right schedule, and get that agreed with them. So when the test plan goes out, the people that are on the hook to sign it off should either be senior leaders, and they're just going to ask their team who should have been involved in that process, and they'll say, is this fine? They'll be, yep, we've been involved, we've had loads of discussions on it, to sign it off, we're happy with it. Or it's actually the team members themselves that are signing it off, the people doing the work, in which case, again, they should have been very involved in the process, so it should be no surprise to them when it comes out. So that's your fourth warning sign. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video there. There's your 4 warning signs that the test plan is not up to scratch, and I think I've articulated the solution to those problems. You just have to be very thorough when you're creating the test plan. Involve all the test stakeholders, make sure you really get them to think about what tests they need to cover, and it's captured in the document. They're not going off later on doing other tests. If they are, they should be creating a CR, change request, to get it in scope. Make sure that your time scales and your schedule is realistic, and yeah, get everyone involved in the process and the sign-off process, do a walkthrough, and you should be okay. Okay, that's the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this one, hit that subscribe button. I'm doing daily videos all about technical project management, and until tomorrow, please take care.